Hello and welcome to episode number 8 of the 823 podcast with my guest Dan from Between the Bricks.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, thank you for being here. So, how's it going today? We've kind of talked a little bit before the show, but might as well start out the show.
It's going good. New Zealand. So I'm from New Zealand, if you don't know, and we are in a full level 4 lockdown, obviously due to the corona outbreak or COVID-19 virus. So basically, that means it is essential services operating only. So the vast majority of the country has been shut down now for nearly 5 weeks. So we've just been getting out and about a lot, doing a lot of walking with the dogs, and that's what I've been doing this morning. It's a lovely day here, nice sunshine. It's not super hot, there's no wind, and we've just taken the dogs down to our favourite spot and just got back in time for today's podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here. And so I guess we can just get straight into the introduction. So kind of just talk about how you got started in the hobby, kind of your first sets, your first, first encounter with Lego, first time finding out about the wider community, that kind of thing.
Sure thing. Absolutely. So I guess my first encounter of Lego, if we're going to go right back, would have been when I was probably 6 or 7 years old, I think. I had Lego as a kid. One of my favourite sets, and one of the sets I still remember having, was a yellow fire station. I can't remember the number offhand of the set, but it was only 3 digits. And it was a yellow fire station that had 2 red fire engines and a few minifigures. And I still have that set to this day, actually. I collected, or I had Classic Town and Classic Space as a kid growing up in the 80s. And I went into a dark age, like most people do, probably around 13 or so, maybe 12. I actually don't remember. And then I had kids of my own in my early to mid-20s. And thankfully, and I say this thankfully because I've heard a lot of horror stories about people whose parents had gotten rid of their childhood Lego collections. So thankfully, I was not one of those cases. My mum had held on to my Lego collection. It was in a box. We bought our house after returning home from overseas to, start our family. And I had my childhood Lego collection. So, and I have vivid memories of moving into our first house. And this would have been 18 years ago now. Because it was before my 17-year-old was born, obviously, so 18 and a half years ago. And I tipped it out in the spare room, and my wife and I lay on the floor for, weeks rebuilding all of these sets from my childhood. That didn't trigger me to come back into buying Lego at that point, though. I started buying Lego for my son. So this is now going back. He's 17, so I would have started buying Lego for him probably when he was 4 or 5, and then he was probably about 8 or 9, and we saw a TV article for a Lego show, a fan brick show that had been put on down in Christchurch in the South Island. And he turned to me, I can remember it clearly, he turned to me and he said, "Dad, I want to go to the Wellington brick show." And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd do that." So I had a look online, as you do, and this is going back 10 years now, and had a look online, and there was no Wellington Brick Show. So I actually got on Facebook and I searched up, and I found a group in Christchurch called Lug 4x2. So I reached out to some people from there, and they were like, "Oh yeah, there's this group in Christchurch that puts on a Lego show, blah blah blah." And I said, "Oh, so where's the group in Wellington?" And they said, "Well, there isn't one that we know of doesn't exist. So, using the power of Facebook, I set about putting out a message. Said anyone interested in Lego want to meet up? I don't know. A couple of weeks later, two or three of us met. We got together. We talked about Lego stuff. We were all adults at that stage. My son came along. He was probably 9 by this stage, or 8 or 9, and then that just grew. And eventually, there was a group of about 6 of us that would meet regularly, and we decided that we wanted to do a Lego show of our own. And so we started putting together a small Lego show, what we thought would be probably in somebody's garage, and that ended up being a show that had 20 exhibitors, and it was in a school hall, and we had 8,500 visitors. And that was when Wellug was born, which is the Wellington Lego User Group. So, yeah, inadvertently, my son wanting to go to a Lego show was what brought me out of my dark age, because in between him saying he wanted to go to a Lego show and me looking it up and figuring out that there was no such group in Wellington, my first encounter with buying a Lego set for myself was buying the pirate ship Ambush from the Lord of the Rings line. Now, I am a massive Lord of the Rings fan. Clearly, I live in Middle-earth, so, it goes without saying. I just love Lord of the Rings. I love the films anyway. I love the books anyway, and the fact that it was filmed here in my backyard was literally just a bonus. And so I fell in love with those Lord of the Rings Lego sets. So I claim that that's what brought me out of my dark age, was the Lord of the Rings Lego sets. Some of them had retired by the time I'd started buying them. So I had to go on the hunt for those, and that's what I did. So in the meantime of organising what was to become Wellington Lego User Group and our very first brick show, I was hardcore on the hunt for all of these Lord of the Rings sets. So that's what I displayed at the Lego show, was most, if not all of the range of, well, no, it wasn't all of the range at that point, I don't think, but it was most of Lord of the Rings sets and my classic town layout that I built from my childhood sets. Wow. And so that was what led me to finding out about the greater community at that stage. So we're going back probably 7 or 8 years now, when officially formed. There was only 2 Lego user groups in New Zealand. There was one in Auckland and there was one Christchurch, and they were quite insular, as in they sort of, they dealt with their region and stuff like that, and there was nothing else really going on around the country. And then, so we started the Wellington group. We were quite transparent in how we did that, and because I did a lot of it online as well, and a lot through Facebook, and I think that encouraged other people in other parts of the country to want to establish groups in their own areas. So I've been fundamentally involved in giving support and advice and helping other people find their way and how to start their own Lego user groups as well. And we currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 recognised groups in New Zealand and 3 Spark groups in New Zealand. Wow. That I know of.
So you go from 2 very, very close, like very private lugs in New Zealand to now having 7. And you basically have brought that about. That's a very inspiring story, because it shows that
I don't think I did it single-handedly.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just like, it's incredible to see what you can do.
You can definitely do it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so, you said that you were...
And to be fair, a lot of it has to do with technology.
Mm-hmm. Right. So that kind of leads into my next question here. So you said that you kind of use technology to further that message. So how much of it would you say was, like people who were just, regular people who are like, oh, this is very interesting, and how many how big is the Lego fan, like the hardcore fan base there? Because I mean, if you have 7 lugs, that's pretty large.
Yes, it is pretty big. So, at the same time that I started Wellington Lego User Group, or Wellug, I started a Facebook group because there was a couple of Facebook groups around at the time, but in my opinion, they weren't very well managed. They were, and this is going to sound terrible, but they were, were started by younger people who I think had it intended on having a younger audience and not encompassing and growing the adult fan community. So I set about starting a Facebook group that was mostly set around encompassing the adult fan group and the adult fan base that I was growing with Wellug and had met with Christchurch and Auckland and these other groups. So it was a group at that stage called NZ Fans of Lego, and it was open to everybody, but it was mainly catered towards the hobbyists, the hardcore A false, T false, and K false for that matter. But so that grew rapidly, and that grew to over 3,000 people in that group specifically. Lug grew as a lug after our first show exponentially, and has now in excess of 100 active members. Most of
Wow.
the other lugs around the country, I would imagine, have, somewhere in the vicinity of, anywhere from, it could be anywhere from 20, 30 to, 80 to 100 members of active members. And most shows around New Zealand have an exhibitor base of around about 50-ish. And that can be again as small as 20 or 30 exhibitors up to 100 to 150 exhibitors. Just Christchurch might even pull in a couple of hundred exhibitors depending on the year and where and how far people are coming from. And I think what's happening is a lot of these lugs over the last 5 or 6 years have now we work together quite a lot. Well, I feel we work together quite a lot. I travel to most of the shows at all of the other groups. So I will try to go to one of their shows at least once a year, their main show. So sometimes I'll go to about 10 in a year. And that's my function essentially, is to go to these shows, and I've kind of plonked myself as I think as the go-to guy. So a lot of people come to me for information because I keep my ear to the ground, and I talk a lot to the lugs, and I go to the shows, and I encourage people to go to shows, and I encourage people to come to our shows, and really do try genuinely to encourage people to work together and get out and experience other shows and other groups around the country, because we have some really neat stuff to offer. And the best thing about having as many lugs as we do in New Zealand is we can travel internally and go to another show, and it's as good as going to Australia to a show in Australia. And I do that too. I would love to go to the US and experience what that's like, but
You
it's a long
definitely
way
should.
for us. So we can go internally and still enjoy the differences that each group has to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. um I think that's really cool that you're not just promoting your own lug, you're helping all of New Zealand, all of their Lego fans. I think that's really cool. I think that's really important.
Mm.
So, yeah. So, kind of moving to our next topic here. So, obviously, you are an RLFM.
Mm.
For those who don't know, that is
Yes.
recognized Lego fan media. Um, so, kind of talk about the process of becoming an RLFM, because it's pretty stringent, right? Like, it's pretty hard to get in.
Um, yes and no. I think it's a tough one. That I became an RLFM. Okay, so I was Well Lug's recognized. No, so Well Lug became a recognized Lego user group, which is an RLUG. Uh, I was the ambassador for WellLug. So the ambassador, each recognized community has an ambassador who is basically the communicator between the group and the Lego Ambassadors Network, which is the platform in which Lego communicate to these recognized communities. And I've done I was the ambassador for WellLug from the very beginning. So probably by the time we got recognised, it would have been 5 years that I'd spent in the LAN. And, in the LAN, you become, there's a community within itself. And that's with all the other ambassadors. And this is now a worldwide network. So you get into the LAN, you communicate with other people from around the world. You can pick people's brains for what they do. You can share information on what we do, and then you bring that back to your group. It's also the place that you have to make all of your applications and stuff to get support from Lego, and then submit reports back to Lego on how your events went and all that sort of stuff. So I did that for 5 years. I stepped down from my role within WellLug as the president and the ambassador, and I guess to put it into perspective, I'd had a breakdown from post-traumatic stress disorder, and it went undiagnosed for a long time. And I'm ex-military and ex-frontline ambulance service, and so I had a bit of a breakdown with PTSD that went undiagnosed. I ended up having to go through Veterans Affairs to get some support and stuff, which is great, and I'm doing good. I still get supported by Veterans Affairs, and I get everything that I need. I have a wonderful family and a wonderful bunch of friends, particularly in the Lego community. So I'm in a really good space, and have been for a while. And I needed something to focus on while I was recovering from that breakdown, and I wanted to do something that I felt was safe, that didn't involve me having to leave my house. Now, because this is strange, I'm a pretty outgoing kind of a guy, but I didn't leave my house for 6 weeks when I first had this breakdown. It was like, how can I communicate with my friends? How can I communicate with my Lego friends around the country for a start? So I thought about live streaming. And at that stage, nobody in New Zealand live streamed. There was no one on the internet. You couldn't go to any of the groups. Nobody really live streamed Lego builds. I just didn't see anything around. I didn't know that it existed. There wasn't. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to start live streaming. So I started live streaming on Facebook. And so I created Between the Bricks and thought I'd do some live streaming. So I did that. And it was good. I got when I say quite a few, I got like 10 or 15 people watching from the very first stream. And then that could go up as high as 20 or 30 and could go as low as 4 or 5, It didn't bother me who was watching, to be honest, as long as someone was there. And people were chatting in the chat, and then I would chat back to that, obviously. And that went on for a wee while, and it was going really well. And then a gentleman by the name of Dirk, who is part of the brick building community on Twitch, saw me on Facebook, and he said, hey, why don't you come over and check Twitch out? So I went over and checked Twitch out, and lo and behold, there's this whole community of people that are live streaming Lego community stuff, whether it's builds, it could be sets, could be mocks. Some of them have audiences, in the tens, some of them in the hundreds, and then there's just this whole community. And I'm like, well, I want to be part of that. So I started streaming on Twitch. Whilst I was doing all of that, I thought about the RLFM process, and I thought it'd be great if I could be an RLFM. I know how it works, having been in the LAN. It would be really nice if I could get some support to do what I'm doing, to try and pass that support back to my community and the people that have supported me, yada, yada, yada. And so I applied, and there is an application process. So if you want to apply to become an RLFM, you need to go to, I think it's Lego.LAN or Lego/LAN, I can't remember, but it's one of them. And there's an application, you fill it in, and you wait. And I waited. And what I did with my application was, I knew that I didn't have a huge amount of numbers. Now, I know that it could be seen as controversial, but back in the day, Lego pretty much required you to have a minimum of, like, for a YouTuber, for example, 50,000 subs.
Wow.
If you were going to be a blogger or a website, you had to have, I'm not sure how many impressions, might have been 100,000 impressions or 100K traffic
Wow.
through your website for X amount of months. Now, don't quote me on that number, I'm not sure, but I know that it was 50K subs. You had to have masses of people, masses of eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's happened is this evolution of, in the beginning, when Lego were engaging with RLFM specifically, when they created RLFM specifically, they were wanting people that essentially would advertise Lego for them. So if you think about the large Lego YouTubers, websites have hundreds of thousands of subs, hundreds of thousands of views. They provide them with some stuff. They talk about it. It's easy advertising. Very, very easy advertising. I think what's happened is that there's been an evolution of change where they've got their advertisers now over the last 3 to 4 years, I'd say maximum or minimum of 2, I should say. Lego have been planning on hitting the AFOL market as an independent market. Now, they don't advertise to adults, particularly using TV advertising or radio advertising. It's all still geared towards children.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they looked at it and went, well, you know what, we can expand the RLFM program. We've got our advertisers. Let's get some engagers. And this is just all my theory, by the way. I have nothing to back this up apart from my experience. And I think with the engagers, what they are looking for is for smaller numbers, not so much people that are just going to throw content out all of the time, but people that are actually going to get out and get amongst the Lego community, that try and engage their Lego community. So I go to 10 shows a year. I interview people and I live stream from most of those shows if I have the capability to. I live stream 3 times a week on Twitch, and I engage with people on a one-on-one. So when Lego send me a set that's preview or early release, we're stuck by the same embargoes. I'll make a video because I feel like I need to, but then if possible, I'll also live stream that set build as well as soon as possible after the embargo, so people can watch it being built. They can ask the questions that they want to ask. They can engage with that one-on-one essentially, and I feel like that's a good quality way to engage with people, and I don't feel like they're looking at the numbers as much. So just to chuck it back to my application, I was extremely surprised that I got accepted into the RLFM program with the numbers that I had presented at the time, because they were not very high. And I feel, or actually I know for a fact, because I was told that I was given RLFM status because of my history and because of my potential. And that was my situation. It's not going to be the same for everybody. So my advice, I think, for anybody is to keep trying. If you don't get it the first time, try again. But make sure that you are engaging with people, you have a community, and realistically, in my opinion, your heart needs to be for your community and not for yourself. I like to run a lot of competitions. I like to give away a lot of my support. I'm not saying you have to do that. That's just the way that I do it, because I like to engage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense, because you're engaging the audience, and you're providing Lego with kind of, you're giving a set to someone, and they're like, oh, this is really cool, maybe I should go get this set or this set. And it's, that makes not only good like community sense, but it
absolutely.
makes good financial sense for the company as well.
So the other thing I think as well with the LAN and the application process is the whole application process is online. As far as the wait time and requirements go, I think that the wait time is anybody's guess. It really comes down to when they decide to review the applications. Now, there is a point where they were doing it twice a year. There was once at the end of first quarter and once at the beginning of or end of third quarter, I think it was. At one point, they actually closed off all applications and they weren't accepting any more communities at all. But I understand that that's been reopened again and they are re-looking at it. But again, it comes down to when they get the time to review those applications. Because the it's called the AFILET team, which is the Adult Fan of Lego, what is it, Community Engagement Team, or AFILET, yeah, something like that. They have a huge job, and accepting or looking at applications is just part of that job, and so that gets done whenever they can, I guess. The requirements is a grey area. The applications, from my understanding now, are taken on a case-by-case basis. So essentially, during your application, you need to sell what it is that you can do and what benefit that can be for your community and how you can benefit your community. And then also how being an RLFM can benefit you benefiting your community, if that makes any sense.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm kind of confused on this part. So RLFM, is that technically like a part of the LAN, or is that a separate entity?
Yeah. No, it is part of the LAN. So the LAN started, from my understanding, it started with the recognized Lego user groups, and then they introduced the recognized. So there's actually three different community types within the LAN, and that is recognized Lego user group, recognized Lego online community, RLOC, and recognized Lego fan media, RLFM. And they all kind of serve a slightly different purpose. So obviously the recognized Lego user group is a physical group, a club that has members that gather and do meetings and engage like any other club, like a sports club, for example, and put on Lego shows and that sort of thing. So they are a physical entity, a physical group that do physical things. A online community is something like, just trying to think of a good example of an online community, and they don't come up that often. Let's say Oslug. I'm not sure if Oslug is considered an online community or not, but an online community is just that. It is a community that could be worldwide, essentially. It's a group of people that contribute online to create a space for people to share information, might share pictures, works, whatever they do, but it's all based online. And then an RLFM is a Lego fan media, so it is essentially people. It could be an individual, it could be a small group. For example, so let's take Beyond the Brick. Beyond the Brick is Josh and John Hanlon and Boone, and I think they might have one or two other contributors as well. And they produce content, so YouTube videos, Facebook content. They also go to Lego shows and interview and videos and all that sort of stuff, and they essentially promote the Lego community through their channel. Brothers Brick mostly promotes the community through images on their website. Myself, I create YouTube content, not too much, but I do create YouTube content. I live stream 3 times a week, and I go to Lego shows and engage on that one-on-one. So and my job, or an RLFM's job, I think essentially is to it's a two-way street, I guess, because Lego will provide us with information to pass on to our communities, but then also on occasion we can take feedback back to the LAN as well, as any of the other groups can. But I think we're more of or seen to be more of an information platform.
Okay, that makes good sense. But yeah, so you are then, I guess, a member of the LAN, so we can kind of talk about what what being in the LAN is kind of
Hmm.
like, and talk about that aspect of it. So what exactly? I guess what are your requirements once you're in the LAN? Are there any, like, you know do they tell you have to, for example, review this amount of sets every year? Or is it just review everything that we send you kind of thing? And if there's any that you
Pretty
can't
much,
say,
yeah. So
don't
there's
feel
no,
obligated.
I don't think there's any. No, that's fine. I won't. I don't think there's any fixed requirements to do much. There is an expectation that you participate in the LAN, and a while ago they were measuring um, things like how many comments and posts you made and stuff like that, and that kind of made people feel like they had to post stuff. So there was a lot of superfluous posting going on in the LAN, and then they kind of relaxed that requirement a little bit to be more along the lines of, we want you to engage, but we don't want it superfluous. So, there is an expectation that you'll engage in the LAN, and uh, I think being part of the LAN is a privilege. There's no doubts about that. And anybody who doesn't think that it's a privilege to be in the LAN, in my opinion, shouldn't be in the LAN, because it is very, very much privilege. As far as an RLFM goes, uh, my requirements are, if Lego offer a review set, and this is the thing, they offer the review sets. They don't tell you you have to. They offer them to you. Now, they don't necessarily tell you what it is that you're reviewing. You might say, so I'm just going to use my last one as an example. I got offered an ideas set, and they give you an embargo date, and that's when you can do whatever you want to do with that set, and then you have to do a report within 30 days on the day 7 information. So I didn't know what the ideas set was that was coming. At that stage there was three potentials. It was either the piano or Sesame Street or the Pirates of Barracuda Bay, which at that stage everyone thought was Pirate Bay, because those are the ones we know that are in production. And so Pirates of Barracuda Bay turned up. And so the obligation for receiving that is to do a report back to Lego on the day 7 information. So they want to know how many impressions it's had, how many views, what channels did you put it on, how did you, so for me, for example, I made a YouTube video on it. I broke it back down, back into its bags, and rebuilt it on stream
Oh,
4 hours after the embargo, because the embargo was like 2 o'clock in the morning, so I started at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I rebuilt it on stream, and then obviously there's all the promo that goes around that as well on Instagram, Facebook, and stuff like that. So you report all of that. They also provide us with optional support during the year that we can apply for, and they will provide some sets for us. And again, the same conditions apply. Excuse me. You have to provide reports on all of that stuff that they give you. Again, what did you do with it? How was it used? What were the numbers? What was the general impression from the people that you shared it with? And apart from that, everything else is essentially voluntary. So, the LAN is always after feedback. They often have departments from the Lego group come to the LAN and ask for assistance with maybe information or participation. So, and another example of that is last year, the Powered Up team came to the LAN and they asked for people to apply, and this is for us to pass this information on to our communities, for people to apply to become Powered Up testers, essentially. So, I put that out into my community. I had a friend of mine from Christchurch apply. He got chosen. I think it was only 15 people worldwide, and he got to be part of the Powered Up program, where they got sent a whole bunch of Powered Up items. They got to test them. They got to, they got to try them, they got to, try and break them essentially, and then feed back on that so that the powered up team could get some good solid information from how AFOLs were going to be expected to use these products. So, it's a really important integral way for us to be able to have our say in essentially what is a multi-billion-dollar company. And you strip all that aside, they still really, really care about their customers. They are still very much family focused, and they are still very much focused on providing a exceptional product that is exceptional quality. And I really respect them for that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very interesting that they're asking for like tests and whatnot. So I guess I'm kind of confused on. So they're sending these motors. Do they want to see, like, are they doing stress tests, or are they just saying like do whatever you would normally do with them?
Yeah, no, not stress testing them as such. They'll do all of that in a laboratory environment, I would imagine. This is more along the lines of how are AFOLs going to use these things, and how could they be improved for AFOLs? So do they do what they want to do, for example? When they send out for Boost, for example, did the hub do what the hub needed to do? So as a result of the powered up program, the Lego went back and did some hub updates so that the hubs could be more programmable. And I think this is now what the evolution is, with Boost becoming very much more programmable system. And how now you can get the hubs to recognize colors, and for trains and stuff you can get them to stop on the tracks and things like that, because that's what AFOLs wanted. They wanted to be able to do basic programming of these hubs and make them more integral, as opposed to just start and stop and speed in between. So,
Wow.
and when you think about it, the Lego Group has millions and millions of loyal fans around the world who just love to be involved in providing feedback on a product that they actually love themselves. So, and what does it cost the Lego Group for that information? A few $1,000s worth of Lego pieces. So,
Yeah.
Lego are an extremely generous company. As far as like the recognized Lego user groups go, they get support as well. They get sets. We used to get parts. You have the ability to buy lug bulk once a year, which is heavily discounted parts, and that's to try and stimulate people to buy bulk parts, to build big models to go to Lego shows, or to build intricate models to go to Lego shows. So, because they know that drives the brand, they
Right.
they are very integral in the way that they promote their own product, and they've done it right, in my opinion. They've done it right.
Yeah, that's really cool that they're. I've always heard about lug bulk, but I didn't even know about all of that other, all the other things that they're doing. That's really interesting. But yeah, so so we've kind of talked about what you like in the LAN and whatnot. Is there anything that you think could be improved or anything like that?
It's a good question. The LAN has improved a lot over the last sort of 3 to 4 years. When I first joined the LAN, it was a very, very clunky online forum system. And it did go through a couple of revamps, and it is still an online forum system. There are a few, there's a few portals in which I think they could improve communication particularly. So I think for me personally, and this is just a personal thing, but whenever we do an online meetup or chat or whatever, they like to use Skype for Business. I think there's better options than Skype for Business for doing like video calling or voice conferencing and stuff like that. That's just me. The platform itself is getting better and better all of the time. It could do with a little bit of modernization and maybe a little bit more integration into uh, probably, if anything, having some APIs for Facebook and stuff like that. But that's probably about it, I think, just off the top of my head. It'd be nice to be able to have some APIs to put the calendars from the LAN where people are creating events directly into Facebook as well, and pull those APIs and use those events,
Mm-hmm.
or use that calendar, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's mainly like problems with the site, not necessarily problems with the actual service of the LAN.
No, I don't believe there's any issues with the service of the LAN. I think if you asked anybody, what would you like the service of the LAN to improve, everyone's going to say, I want more free Lego. I don't believe that that's the case for me. I know this just sounds counterintuitive, but I think I think Lego themselves are very generous, and what I get in support is definitely very generous, and I'm extremely grateful for the support that I do get. So I wouldn't expect any more. If I got more, if I became a tier 2 RLFM, that would just allow me to do more within my community. I'd run bigger competitions and offer bigger prizes. It's as simple as that. I would also like to offer more stuff to other people to do collaborative work. So what I like to do is try and work collaboratively with either another content creator or another streamer, and offer them something, because that's one of the biggest bonuses, I think, as well, to being an RLFM, is that I can request a set, for example, and I can have it sent to somebody, and so I don't have to pay for the shipping costs, which I'm not monetized, so I just want to get that out there. I don't have enough YouTube subscribers or anything. I'm not monetized. I get a bit of money from Twitch for subscriptions and stuff, but in the bigger scheme of things, I spend more money on equipment and Lego each month than I do what I bring in Twitch fees. And I don't do it for the money. I do it because I love it, and I do it because I'm genuinely passionate about Lego, and I'm genuinely passionate about my community. So, having that ability to get Lego to send somebody something from anywhere in the world is really fantastic for me. So, I'm planning with a streamer in Australia who's not a Lego streamer, but he's a nice guy. He's done some brick building in the past, and he's really likes working collaboratively with other people. So it's like, well, why not try something Lego? So I offered him, I can get him the Mandalorian set when it comes out, because he talks about it on the streams. Like, dude, I'll send you this, let's do a co-stream. Sure. So, things like that help bring more people back to Lego and back to the community. So, it's about sharing that with other adults and making them realize that actually, you could actually fall back in love with the brick if you wanted to. So
that's really cool. That is really
But that's
cool.
not an improvement, and I'm digressing.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. But no, I think that the LAN has come a long way over the last few years, and they are still looking to improve stuff. And look, every improvement that comes is a bonus for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my final question, kind of here about the LAN, is what would you recommend to someone who's trying to get in themselves? So, is there anything that you need to do beforehand? Is there anything that you need to put on your application? That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess anything any advice that I give, you have to take with a grain of salt, because I'm not the messiah, so to speak, when it comes to the LAN, and I don't particularly know what they're looking for. And I know that it's taken on a case-by-case basis. So what I would say is just keep doing. You need to put in the grind to get the reward. So if you're a YouTuber, keep making YouTube videos. Keep putting out content, keep engaging with people. And this is just my personal opinion. Try and keep it positive. The more positive you keep it, the more feedback you will get. I don't think shock value is the way to go. I've tried that in the past, and that's not the way to go. And the other things that I would avoid, never ever post videos on leaked information. If you post Lego leaks, the first thing they'll do when they go to look at your application is look at all of your past work. And if you've posted leaked information, they won't have a bar of it. It's one of Lego's pet hates is people that post leaked information. Just don't do it. When you go to apply, you need to really sell what it is that you are doing, how that benefits your community, how that benefits you, and how that will benefit the Lego group. So think of it as a bit of a triangle. You've got you at one point, you've got your community at another point, you have Lego at the other point. How do you all meet in the middle of the triangle and everybody gets something out of it that is valuable and worthwhile? If you don't get accepted the first time, try again. Look at what it is that didn't meet in the middle of that triangle. Again. Keep going, and try again. And really, that's I think that's all I can say is don't give up. If you really, really want something, you need to put in the work and don't give up. But also, try not to be too dejected or upset if you get turned down the first time or two. I think that's a really important thing because it's I know it's hard for people to get turned down for things, and you know it's not nice to be told no, but you know sometimes you've just got to really dig it in there and give it a go. You know, I know a couple of really cool people in the LAN that had been turned down the first time they applied, and they did it again. You know, and it paid off in the end. So just grind it out, create your community, dig it in, and chase your dreams.
Absolutely, that's awesome. That's really good advice for people who are trying to get in. You know, I've thought about it in the past, and I will definitely keep that in mind if I actually go and try to do that. So, yeah, thank you.
Mm.
So, the final thing here before we get to the news. So, yesterday, I know on your Instagram profile, your profile picture is of a flower that is particularly important. So, I kind of wanted to, you know,
Yes.
highlight that.
Yeah, so yesterday was Anzac Day. Anzac Day is, so Anzac stands for Australia New Zealand Army Corps, and it was a corps of military from Australia and New Zealand that was created during World War One. And what's pertinent about Anzac Day, the 25th of April, was the day that there was a large scale attack on the Gallipoli Peninsula, and Australia New Zealand Army Corps, the Anzacs, landed on Gallipoli, and you know, obviously there was a very hard fought battle with the Turks over the Gallipoli Peninsula. Australia and New Zealand lost a lot of soldiers during that encounter. It was pretty brutal. There was advances and then losses on multiple different features on the Gallipoli Peninsula, and particularly Anzac Cove. And it's just become one of those things that's synonymous with World War One, particularly, or World War One and Two history, and it's the day that we use to commemorate and remember those military members that have fallen Particularly in World War One and World War Two, but also in all of the conflicts ever since those two great wars. And so it's a national holiday. The poppy is the flower that you would have seen on my Instagram post, and that's my brick built version of a poppy, and that has to do with the poppy fields of France and Belgium, and it's just a symbolism of something from Europe where obviously where the war was, and so we wear poppies on Anzac Day and in the weeks leading up to Anzac Day, and so yeah, yesterday was a tough day. It was a tough Anzac Day because we are in a level 4 lockdown. We couldn't go to our normal dawn services, and so we just had to do what we could from the privacy of our own homes, I guess. And so I decided I would, make a tribute on Instagram. I did join the army when I was 17 and a half, and I spent 5 years in the army as a medic. So Anzac Day is particularly special to me because I have served in the military. I know what military life is like. I did deploy overseas on a humanitarian mission following a tsunami for disaster relief. So I've experienced some reasonably horrific stuff. Definitely not as horrific as what the soldiers would have seen during the two wars and since. But when you've been part of the military, you know what it's like, and especially when you lose your brothers and sisters, whether it's in combat or out of combat, there is a connection between soldiers that is not possible anywhere else. And I don't know how to explain that any other way unless you've been in the military. It's just one of those things. It's just one of those things. It's extremely special, and it's extremely important to remember those that sacrificed their lives for our freedom, essentially.
Absolutely. Well, so unless there's anything else that you want to add before we talk about the news of the week, we can go straight into that.
No, let's get on with it. Yeah, let's get on to the news.
All right. So let me pull up my traditional Lego news site, the Brick Fan. That's what I use on every episode because it's the one I thought about on the first episode, and I just kind of haven't switched. So, apparently we have
that's cool.
Apparently we have a helicarrier coming out. I haven't seen this yet. Definitely not.
No, it's the first time I've seen it too.
Definitely not the same as the one that came out in 2014 maybe? The big UCS scale one.
Yeah. Yes, the other one was definitely a much nicer model. That was micro scale, more UCS style, a lot more detail. This one looks like it has maybe a little bit more play feature to it. Play set's got minifigures in it though, which might be some nice additions to the Marvel's universe.
Yeah, I'm just now watching all the Marvel movies for the first time.
Did it say Nick Fury?
Yes, there is a Nick Fury in there. Let me see what the so Thor, Black Widow, Nick Fury, Iron Man, Shield Agent, War Machine, Captain Marvel, and a brick built. Oh man, here we go. I'm not gonna be able to pronounce this. I'm just gonna say MODOK. I don't want to get roasted by Marvel fans.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either.
But it looks like a block with a face on it, so I'm kind of confused. But yeah.
Whereabouts are you up to in the series? Are you watching them in chronological order?
Um, well, I'm kind of watching the ones that are on Amazon Prime Video. I have a trial of that, so I'm trying to get those watched first, and then I'll kind of go back through and fill in the gaps. But I've watched First Avenger, I've
Nice.
watched Captain America, and then I watched Endgame in the theater because some friends of mine were like, "You have to come see this in the theater," and I was like, "Okay." And even though I had no real connection to the characters, like I still enjoyed the movie. It was still worth going and seeing it. So yeah, I'm definitely glad I did that. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, I think I mean I've liked the ones I've watched so far. Um, I definitely like Captain America more after watching the Captain America movie, because in Endgame and the first Avenger, he just, I don't know, he wasn't very appealing to me, but I definitely like him a lot more
Mm.
now that now that I've seen his story. So yeah, but anyway, I assume you've seen them all.
Yeah, and actually, just recently, my wife and I watched them all through again from chronological order. So yeah,
Oh
it's just
man,
like a little bit of a revitalization in the interest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe for sure.
yeah, they're like, I think they're 21 now, right? I might be a little off.
I don't know, but it took us weeks to watch through them all. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I've actually taken a couple of months.
it's gonna take me a long time. but yeah, I mean, you know, I've bought a few of the sets from it, and the sets are in general pretty good. We get like 4 trikes a year, but other than that, it's all right.
Yeah, I particularly like the minifigures too. There's a lot of nice figs with that with the Marvel sets.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. So the next thing, I don't know if you're interested in dots or not. I have not picked any of them up yet, mainly because I haven't been able to get out and around to buy any sets or anything. But I mean, it has some interesting parts in it. But
Hmm.
yeah.
They do. I love them actually. I was fortunate enough to get given the entire first wave from a retail partner store that I work with here in New Zealand.
Oh
Um,
wow.
I'll just give them a quick shout out, toyco.co.nz. Um, so they gave me the complete first wave to muck around with, and okay, as a product, I'm not going to wear a bracelet. For a start, they don't fit around my wrists. So if you're an adult male with big wrists, don't even bother. Uh, but the benefit to the dots really is in the pieces and in the new colors. So there's a whole lot of new colored quarter round tiles, one by one round tiles, square tiles, and the likes. And anytime you get any of those in new colors, it's got to be great for mock building.
Yeah, and I don't know the prices on these, but like a lot of the printed ones are very like I like the pizza slice one. If I can find the it's
Mm.
41916. If I can find that pizza tile right there. That looks pretty cool actually. Um and then
Mm.
I like the design on top of the box. I think it looks really good. Um and then where was the other set? I'm Oh, here it is. The picture frames. I like these. These look really good. I'm not sure what.
I like those as well. Actually, I quite like the desktop organizer. Looks pretty good too.
Which.
Just not sure about the notepad one, but um,
Oh, yeah.
so just above the picture frame, there's also there's a whole bunch of new printed tiles in whatever wave or box that is. I think what is that box? The bracelet mega pack.
Yes.
There are some superb looking printed tiles on. And you see, again, for mock builders, anything that has printing on it, it just adds more potential to adding more life to a small scene of some description. So, and I think this is where Dots is really going to sell well with the AFOL market, particularly that there's going to be AFOLs that are going to want to have those designs that they can put a round, printed tile into a minifigure's hand and tell a story with it. It's going to be really useful.
Yeah, a lot of them.
There's one there I'm looking at now, extra dots. At this one here, extra dots just looks so good.
Yeah, that might be a
BFF tiles, pizza slice tile. There's the one you're talking about.
The monkey.
The classic space looking tile. Yeah.
The monkey. The monkey looks so happy.
I think they're going to sell as many of these to adults as they do kids.
Yeah.
He does. Looks very happy.
I really like the
I like
lightning.
dots. I do like them, and I definitely get more.
I like the lightning bolt one on the very last one. That looks really good. I didn't notice that those were printed though. I was thinking that they were stickers, but now that I know they're like printed tiles, that definitely piques my interest.
No, they're all prints. Yep.
But that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Yeah, all prints. Yeah. And some of them, if you have a look at that same tile or that same pack, you've got the heart with the little, the trail behind it. There's a similar one in the recent release one with the rainbow. You can actually make a complete round circle with the rainbow as well. So they're, really useful.
Oh, yeah.
There's just so many ways that people are going to use these tiles that Lego haven't thought about, which I always look forward to.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times Lego creates things that are like kind of, do with this what you will. I think that's a really good thing that they do.
Yeah, for sure.
So, moving down the list here, we have the Lego Friends Hot Air Balloon Jungle Rescue. I'm trying to get a... Okay, here we go. I like those rounded pieces that they're using for the waterfall. And I like the basket. I think that looks cool.
I was just looking at... Is it the turtle down the bottom? Is that the same one as what's in the new minifigures, or is that an older style Friends version?
I'm
not sure. Actually, I think that might be the Friends version.
If it is the...
Would it be nice to see that turtle in other packs?
Yeah, because like it's in a different color for sure, because the shell is green, I think, as well. And it's like a brighter, like a spring green color rather than the dark colored green. And then I mean, there are so many useful parts in these Friends sets. They always have good parts.
Interesting that on the bottom left-hand corner of the box, it's partnered with National Geographic.
Yeah, I saw that on another set too. I'm trying to think of what it was. Oh, I think it was like... Oh, no, it was the... Oh, man.
Oh, is it the city ones?
Yes, that's it. Because I remember it was something to do with, like, aquatics. I couldn't remember if that was its own line. looking here.
It is, yeah, it's the new city sets, all the underwater stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Are those officially revealed? Or no? Yes, they are. Okay.
Uh, yes, they are.
Okay, we're okay. I just didn't want to make the LAN angry. Um, but I think yeah, they're on here. So I like that gigantic research boat. I don't know how much that's going to cost, but if it's reasonably priced, then that might be a good pickup. Um, but I feel like the boat hull is going to really drive up the price.
Just scrolling down to find that one. Yeah, that's an oversized version of a boat hull they've done similarly in the past. In actual fact, is it two of them back to back?
I can't tell.
I have a feeling that might be two boat hulls back to back. If you look
There
at the
is,
center, it looks
yeah.
like it's been joined back to back. So I think that boat hull was originally one off an Ocean Explorers from a couple of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
where it had because it's a U shape at the back of the hull, a 16 by 16 U shape. So
Man, this is like a really
I have to see how
strange.
they've joined it though, because I don't recall. It is very strange. That's not going to be one piece. That boat hull, definitely. A nice looking ship though.
Yeah, it looks like a container ship at like a container yard or something. I think this could be repurposed
Mm.
for other things.
As a container ship, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I noticed that it's also got the new Stingray in there as well, which I saw a poly bag for earlier this week. A new shaped Stingray. We haven't had a new shaped Stingray for a number of years,
Yeah, that looks really
so that'll
good.
be nice.
I think the shark new, maybe? I don't
Oh,
remember.
hammerhead, hammerhead. I don't think I've seen a hammerhead shark before.
Oh, where's that?
One of the things that I love the most about new Lego sets, there's a hammerhead on. It looks like the underwater sub base where
Oh, yeah, I see it now.
Ocean Explorer's exploration base. Yeah, there's a hammerhead shark there.
That's really cool.
And that's one of the things I love the most about Lego is discovering the new stuff. I love how they just keep coming up with new stuff.
Yeah, agreed. I like the color scheme they went with the divers, with like the red. I think that helmet mold is probably new,
Mm.
or maybe there's an extension on top of that already existing piece. Um, but I think that looks really good, and that could be used for other things.
Yeah, it's hard to tell that helmet. I think you're right. I think it is a new piece because it looks like it has sort of lights, maybe, on the forehead area,
Yeah,
and the front looks like a regulator in and around the mouth, and it looks like it is one whole piece. So I think you might be right. I think it is a new piece.
it looks really good though. I think it definitely works. And then the next set going up, we're kind of going up now. And the one with the glow in the dark uh, piranha anglerfish looking thing.
The fish, yeah.
That part's cool. The sub is weird.
How cool is that?
The sub is really like different. I heard someone on Instagram call it a school bus submarine, and that I think
School
that's
bus up, yeah. I think it's because they're using the roof sections on the top.
mm-hmm.
Mm.
I think I really don't think that it really works to put the front roof section over that round canopy piece. I just don't think that really fits. I think square over round, it just
No,
kind of makes it look empty. But I mean, all in all, the set looks nice.
yeah.
I think this one's supposed to be $30 though. So I probably won't be picking this one up, but yeah, clearance is clearance could be my friend on that one.
I'd be keen just for that fish, if I'm being honest. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think
um,
people are going to want that anglerfish. Yeah,
mhm.
I'd say the anglerfish and the hammerhead sharks and stingrays are going to be popular because I know a lot of people that have built aquarium type mocks, and anytime you can add a new species to something like that is always a little bit of gravy.
Yeah, and this junior set has a hammerhead shark in it. It looks like it's about a $10 set maybe. So you might be able to get the hammerhead for a decent price on
Mhm.
Bricklink.
Absolutely, it looks like it. Yep, and a minifigure and a chest. If that's a $10 or a $15 set, it's not too bad. Not too badly priced. Um, Also, okay, just looking at that junior set, pretty much that whole um, section of the sub is all one big chunk. Ugh.
Yeah, it looks like the thing they used for the TIE
Although
Fighter.
if it's, yeah, I think you might be right. If it's yellow as opposed to light bright orange, it would be reasonably utilizable in a neoclassic space base of some description. But
Oh, yeah.
if it's light bright orange, then it's pretty much a big chunk of junk, in my opinion.
It can be used as filler. that, that's about all it can be used for. Um,
Absolutely.
but I love this next set.
But
I want,
hopefully they are yellow.
yes, hopefully it's yellow. Um, but I absolutely love this next set, and I know that deep down in I want to buy it, but the last two airplanes I've bought, I have regretted because they take up so much space, and this one looks huge. So I probably
Yeah,
won't.
they do.
But oh man, I like the airport. I like the car going into the back. I think that is a really cool design. I like the shape at the front. It looks really realistic. It all looks so nice.
Yeah, I found this one fascinating that they look like they've changed the shape of the aircraft from the last airport that they did. The canopy and the nose look totally different. It does look more realistic. Looks more like me, like with the super jumbo, but yeah, it's not consistent with the planes that we've seen in the past, which I guess is it's not a bad thing. It would
Yeah.
allow for some different modelling if you would have built a large scale airport, but gee, you really would have to build a large scale airport.
Yes. You would need to
The
use
wings are the
the
same.
road pieces, the road base plates.
Yeah, for a runway for sure.
But I like the toucan on the back as well. Just so much to like. But I don't know. Like if that's $80 and it goes down, let's say we have a half price sale or whatever and it's $40, I'll pick that up. But if it's 120 or something like that,
Mm,
I'm probably out on that one.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It's not something that I'd probably buy. Again, same reason as you. Planes are just too big. No
mhm.
purpose for them.
Yeah. But anyway, moving up to our next one here. It's a juniors airport, and this plane is smaller. I mean, that's for sure. But I don't know.
It could do with a conversion to a private jet type plane. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The back end of it looks too chunky for me. Although looking at the back of the box art, those two red reversed slope pieces, they look new to me. I haven't seen them
Yeah.
being four wide at the top before, and what looks to be three wide at the bottom. Potentially
Yeah.
two wide at the bottom. I'm not sure, but I definitely haven't seen those slopes before.
Yeah,
And there's obviously a large chunk of plane in there in the bottom.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Juniors pieces that can only be used for filler.
Yeah, right.
But so the next set here is the
Yeah, absolutely.
air
But there's
race.
always something useful to find.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think we have a bit of a delay.
No, that's fine.
Um, so the next one here is the air race. I think that um, I think this is pretty much just the Ninjago spinners from a few years ago with a very cool looking plane.
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I quite like those little helicopter ripstick type things. They're good, just good bit of fun for kids to just boof around with in the backyard and watch them fly away. The plane itself though looks pretty good. I do like the plane,
Yeah.
um, and three minifigures also, which is good.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that. That's really good. I I don't know what the rumored price on this is. I'm not sure, but um, I I would guess probably $20, 30 maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'd hazard a guess it's got to be between 20 and 30 US.
Mm-hmm.
25. I don't know. Do you have a 25 price point there?
Yeah.
24.99.
Um, and then I think that's all we got going up. I don't know if there's any more city going down. Nope. I think we went. I
No,
think
that
we
was
started at
all.
the bottom. And then they also have some creator sets here. First one here is the pirate ship. I think that's pretty interesting.
I'm absolutely in love with that pirate ship.
I I like the brick
Absolutely in
built
love with it. I think
sails.
it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll probably get a couple of them. Yeah, yeah, they actually really did a good job on it. They don't look super chunky and they don't look out of place. I think that pirate ship's going to be quite popular. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of a mini version of Pirate Bay when you look at the the alternate build as well for one of the alternate builds. But
Mm-hmm.
I could definitely see people picking up multiple of those. There's some good parts in there as well as the minifigures, so it's a win. I'm on to that one.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That one, like that is one creator set that I've seen that's like, okay, all three of the builds look pretty good, and the main build is just great.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I also like that they did not use a boat hull, um, because we get a lot of boats that are just like boat hulls and that's it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Being brick built so much nicer.
Mm-hmm. So the next one we have here is the Lunar Exploration Rover. This one looks pretty good. I mean it. I don't know. I don't know that I would pick it up, but I mean it looks pretty cool. Um,
Yeah, I looked at that one and I thought it looks like a nice build, but it didn't didn't jump out at me and say, "Yep, you definitely need to be on this one."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure what it is. I just think it's probably because I don't really have much other space stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but again, there's still some nice pieces in there as well.
Yeah.
So that one's 50-50 for me.
The little green alien with like the tentacles that's walking around, I think, is just hilarious. It has the two green plant pieces as like
Mm.
the eye stalk things. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. But and then we have the family vacation camper van, which is, oh man, it has a beaver in it. That might be that might just for the beaver. That looks pretty great.
Yeah, I really like that one. I think what attracted me to that one was the caravan itself. I like the colors through it. It's pretty retro looking,
Mm-hmm.
and Lego have done a few campers over the years and caravans, and we do a lot of camping, or there's a lot of camping and stuff in New Zealand and stuff. So again, I think it's just another one of those things that is really useful for a mock builder to add to the collection, or even in cities and stuff. Is just that another little bit of variety that you can use. I don't know. I really like the creator sets, even as much as like the paddle board and things like that, and the brick built skunk. you know, you can tell what they are. Um,
Yeah.
without them being pre-molded, just basic brick built, you can tell what they are, and they would look great in any sort of forest setting mock, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I like this one. I also really like the alternate build for the actual camper as well, the motorhome. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I like the color scheme, the white and the teal color. I think that's really good. Um, and then the lighthouse build. I think the lighthouse, like the spire itself, I think is a little bit blocky, but overall, I mean, it looks pretty good. So yeah, I think that's a pretty solid build. Um, and then I'm going down here. I don't think. I highly doubt that Lego Boost sale is still happening, but if anyone wants to go check that out, you're more than welcome to. Oh yeah, there's the May the 4th set, the uh, Death Star 2 battle.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a freebie, so I guess you shouldn't really scoff at something that you're getting for free if you're spending money on something you're going to spend money on anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think uh, Ryan do a video on this one. Agreed with was that the A wing wasn't that flash, and it kind of let it down a little bit. And I think what Lego do every time is they always try to build these little micro models different every single time, and they may have built one in the past that was much better, would suit this model better, but they still have to build a new one for this model, and I think that's a little annoying. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, you could quite easily switch it out for the advent calendar version if you preferred it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a nice way to get a few extra pieces. There's nothing in there that's super rare or super amazing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it would have been nicer to see probably a little bit more of height at the back, so that there's a bit of a backdrop to it, if you know what I mean. Because if it's a trench run, they should have been in a trench.
Right. I think the Death Star was a weird choice. I just think it was not
actually,
the
it doesn't
best.
say that trench run, does it? It just says it's
I don't know. I think the TIE Interceptor looks way too big. Like, I think that should have been shrunken down to about half the size that it actually ended up being. But
yeah. I guess the only thing about the TIE Interceptor is that wedge plate is relatively uncommon, I think, if not new at this point.
oh yeah.
3 long, 2 wide.
I didn't even notice that.
Start point.
Yeah, so that's an interesting part. I guess the dark red textured bricks look pretty cool. The gun tower, like the turret, looks really interesting. But yeah, other than that, nothing really jumping out at me like, oh man, gotta buy this one, you know. So, but knowing me, I'll probably buy something from the May the 4th promotion and just be like, okay, we're doing this now. But I'm looking here. What else? The Working Waterfall has gotten 10,000 supporters. That looks really good. Unfortunately, I cannot zoom in to see how it works.
I think it's on a track system underneath.
Oh, there's a motor. Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, there's like a track that it goes down, and then the motor just, I'll mute this audio. So okay, so it like falls in an enclosed thing, and then it just goes into a pit at the bottom, essentially. Okay, that's cool. But I'm looking, seeing if there's anything. So I recorded my last episode probably a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So I'm just seeing if there's anything that I've just completely missed. So there's, I don't know if you want to talk about these. I don't remember if I talked about them last time, but the Star Wars helmet sets. I think that they have some interesting parts. But
yeah, absolutely. My favorite of the 3 is the TIE Fighter. And I'm particularly interested to see those hose pieces from each side of the cheeks or the chin, whatever you want to call that bit down there. Yeah, they are intriguing, and the nice printed dish pieces on top of that same helmet as well. But I'd definitely be picking up all 3 of them at some point. I feel like this is going to be something that they're going to do more of in the future, and if I don't pick them up and they bring out a second wave or a third wave like Brickheads, I think I'm going to regret not getting them off the bat.
I feel like they are relatively cheap for what you're getting. Like, I mean, 724 pieces for $60 is not too bad. For the fighter pilot, 647 for the stormtrooper helmet,
around about $100 each or something. I'm not entirely sure.
And then 64 625 for Boba Fett. So, you know, not they're not Disney taxed.
Mm.
But yeah, and then there's also Dio thrown down there at the bottom. I feel like they could have done better with Dio.
I think Dio will be attractive to those people that have got BB-8 and maybe the older R2-D2. So again, I like it when Lego do a line of collectible things that you can, gather over time and stuff. I just wish there are some lines over the years that I kind of wish that I had.
Mm-hmm.
That I had collected from the beginning.
Right. And then there was one more thing that I just completely skipped over, and that was Series 20. I think, in my opinion, I think it's time for Lego to take a break from CMFs until there is an idea, because this is just so random. But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on it, or?
I know there's a lot of people that were disappointed that there wasn't a Chase figure in this series, particularly. There wasn't a Mrs. Gold or another Mr. Platinum or whatever the heck it was going to be. So, because, obviously being they released Mr. Gold in Series 10. I always think there's a few gems in each minifig series, and then I always think there's, a few just complete randos. But I don't know. I think Series 20 is actually pretty good. There's some cool figures in there that have some nice use potential. The pinata. I love the pinata. The turtle. The diver I don't really care for, but the turtle itself is a fantastic model.
Right.
I know the drone kid. I love the drone. The drone is beautiful. It's perfect. It looks like a DJI Phantom. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
What else is in this one? I do particularly like the Viking as well.
I agree with that. That is a good figure.
The ones that are a bit of a miss for me, yeah, the Viking is sick. The ones that are a bit of a miss for me that I don't really care for, I don't really care too much for the athlete. The only good thing with the athlete, in my opinion, is the medal, because that medal is quite an expensive piece to get on Bricklink.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really care for the Power Ranger looking figure, because on its own, it doesn't really seem like it's going to be that useful.
Right.
I know a lot of people weren't particularly interested in, or didn't like, or thought that it was a cop-out that Lego put in a green, brick.
I thought that was
whatever
okay.
You call that minifigure.
I think that's
but I actually quite... I don't mind it. You know why? Because now you have green, red, and blue. And if they bring in a yellow and other colors, it becomes another thing. You're going to end up with monochromas that are going to want that particular minifigure. You switch that out for a green head, you've got a monochrome brick boy. Get a blue one, monochrome brick, blue one. Red one, monochrome it. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, that would be cool.
The llama suit, I think, is cute, but I've never really been a huge fan of the suits, if I've been honest. I love the pea pod. And again, you get your collectors, so you're going to have your pea pod, you're going to have your banana, you're going to have your corn. I think you're going to have people want a carrot next time or something, or rather. And it's these little micro collections within the overall collectible series that are attracting people. And this is where I'm a little bit disappointed with the CMFs, is that I didn't collect them from the very beginning, so I don't have them all. But I'm not going to go back and pay the money that people want for
Oh
some of them
yeah.
either. So this is where I think that they're going to attract people in with these micro collections within the greater collection, if that makes any sense.
Mhm. Right. Um, yeah, I think this series, in my opinion, I just think that a lot of the appeal is in the accessories or the new pieces or the new, you know, like parts of the minifigure rather than the minifigures themselves, if that makes sense. You know, I like the drone enthusiast. I like the drone and I
It
like the
absolutely does make
controller.
sense. Yeah.
But I don't think the actual figure is really all that great. You know, it has the teal cap, which is kind of interesting. It's a new color, but you know, it's just okay. And I don't know. It's kind of just been okay outside of,
Mm.
you know, the Harry Potter series has been really good, but outside of that, like for the last few years now, it's just been okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree. I think the accessories definitely are what people are looking at more than the actual minifigures themselves. Like the guitar guy, the guitar guy. The guitar's cool, but that's it. He's got magenta pants. Mm, you know,
Hmm.
not that interesting. Uh, the the top maybe with the leather or the vinyl looking jacket maybe, but yeah,
Yeah,
the rest of it, me.
yeah. But I mean,
They've
and
sort
I,
of, yeah, as I see, they've kind of gone away from characters per se, but
mhm. I agree with you though on the Viking. I like the Viking. Um, I think he's probably my favorite CMF in the last couple years, and I like the green brick guy. I like the NASA one by one round brick, and um, I guess since I didn't get Team GB, I like the athlete just because I didn't get Team GB. But you know, that's about it.
yeah.
But
Also, I'm not sure whether that spare piece has come in white before, so
oh
as
yeah.
as an item for greebling and decoration and stuff, having it in white could be quite useful.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, I think I only have one more thing, and then I think that will be just about everything. Or no, two more things, and then that should be
Hmm.
all I've got. Um, so there's the Lego SpongeBob Krusty Krab, and I think that they should bring back Lego SpongeBob because the sets from years ago are getting really, really expensive.
So that Krusty Krab was from that was Ideas, wasn't it?
Yes.
Ideas, yeah, that met support. I don't know. I'm in two minds about SpongeBob. I wasn't a huge fan of the cartoons myself, so
Mm.
didn't really bother me when they sort of gave up the license. And as far as I'm aware, they gave up the license, and Mega Bloks took it on. So I guess they might have difficulties getting that back if Mega Bloks still own that license.
I
So
don't think they do. I don't think they've made
um,
anything with it
yeah,
in
it'll be
several
interesting to
years.
see. Right. Right, yeah. I don't know. I like the Krusty Krab that from the Ideas set because it's obviously far more detailed than the the playset version that came out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether they did bring back an older line that they've had in the past that didn't do too well. So
Yeah. So that is SpongeBob. Oh man, there are so many projects getting reviewed this time around. Oh man, I scrolled down and saw the
there's a
list.
lot.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Well, there's
10.
20 so far that have achieved
Oh man,
support.
really? Wow. That's got to be like the most in a while, right? Like that's I don't remember that many last time around, but
No, I don't recall either.
but anyway, the last one we have here, and then I will let you go. We have the Ducati motorbike. Um, this thing is pretty like detailed on the inside. I think that's a pretty solid build.
Yeah, I agree. From what I understand, it has a functional two-speed gearbox.
Oh, really?
Has a V twin engine, I think it is. We're with working pistons and stuff like that. That the Technic versions that they've done in the past. So yeah, from what I understand, it looks like it's quite a functional Technic model as well as good looking. And the shocks on the front are dampening shocks, not just springs, as opposed to the ones on the back. So new part with that, the front disc brake is a new part. So because I actually did a video on this one actually, it's on my
Oh,
YouTube channel, and I think what's going to happen with this once this one comes out is you have the new disc at the front, and you also have the disc at the back, which first appeared on the Chiron, and now you've got these tires from both this model and the Harley Davidson Fat Boy, which is a similar scale, I think.
mm-hmm.
And you take those key components now. You've got wheels, tires, disc brakes. Watch what the mockers bring out in the next 12 months.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see some amazing road bikes, Harleys, just motorcycles in general come out of the mock building community in the next 12 months because the key components are now readily available, will be soon readily available. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and I like did the how long ago did the Harley Davidson come out? That was probably close to a year now, right? Um,
Which the Harley would be close to a year.
okay. So the like this could be an annual thing. Like they could do more of these kind of motorcycle sets, and I mean where else what's another like major brand? There's Harley Davidson, there's Ducati, maybe like an older one. Um I can't even think of a
You
brand.
could, there's plenty of Japanese bikes as well. You have Kawasaki and Suzuki. If they're going to go down the bike track, there's a ton of very nice looking sports bikes out there that they could do. And even within the Harley Davidson range, there are variants within that range that they could quite easily adapt to. Um,
Right.
and then I guess of course on top of that you can look at other brands. There's I guess there's like cars. There's as many as there are. Well, not quite as many as there are cars, but they could go as far as cars as far as they wanted to as well. And I
Yeah.
suppose the thing that would hold them back the most would be licensing. I'm assuming.
Right. But I mean, you kind of have to do the same thing with cars as well, because they had the Technic Le Mans sports car. That was a really cool car, but it had a lot of. I think it
Mm,
had licensing. Like I think it had all the sponsors and whatnot on it. So you probably had to acquire licensing for each and every one.
mm,
But and even like the Speed Champion sets are probably extremely
yeah.
expensive for licensing because they have, Hilton Hotel, for example. They probably had to contact Hilton Hotels and be like, we're going to put this on a set. How much will it cost? Kind of thing. But, I mean, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see
Mm,
where they go with it. I think that'll be really cool. But,
yeah, for sure.
oh. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much all I've got. So, um, where can people find your content?
So I stream live on Twitch 3 times a week. So that's twitch.tv/, Between the Bricks. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/ Between the Bricks. Instagram, Between the Bricks _RLFM. And Twitter is Between the Bricks _RLFM as well, or I think it might just be BTBRLFM shortened. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and Facebook, Between the Bricks Facebook page as well. And I also run a website called Brick Hub, which is brickhub.nz. And that's basically, yeah, any one of those outlets will lead you to the others if you can find one. They're all
Absolutely.
linked together. So yeah, but my main focus is live stream. Yeah.
Awesome. And all of that will be linked down below if you want to go check that out. Um, and yeah, so I want to thank Dan for being here, and and if you ever want to come back on, feel feel free.
Oh, anytime, anytime. Thank you so much for having me. It was
Yeah,
great to sit here and have a chat. As you can tell, I like to talk, so I would be honoured to come back and have another chat anytime in the future. It would be great.
awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, well, thank you again, and
Cool.
we will be back soon with another show. Um, Guests have been announced on my Instagram page. So yeah, go check that out as well. So yeah, thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.